got? Right, you should be okay now. That's all right.
Just have the one on then. Right, good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Committee. That includes all those accessing the meeting via the live stream to YouTube. During the live broadcast, members and officers are asked to please ensure that mobile phones are placed in silent mode. Only audio from the microphones can be captured on live stream. Therefore, please ensure that they are switched on when speaking and switched off when they have finished speaking. Minutes will be produced in the usual way, and the recording of the meeting will be available to view on YouTube until such a time as minutes are produced. Agenda 1, Chair. The first item on the agenda is for member services to report any apologies for absence.
Thank you. We've had apologies from Councillor Carney and Councillor Oliver.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item agenda 2. We are being asked to approve the minutes of the correct record of the meeting on the 25th of August 2025. Can I ask any member who does not agree with these minutes to indicate that now? Nobody? I'll sign that now. Thank you very much. Right, I see no objections to your proposal to approve the minutes of the correct record of the meeting, so they are now agreed. Agenda item number 3. Agenda item 3 is to report the additional items for consideration which the Chairman deems urgent by virtue of special circumstances. 4. Agenda item 4 is to receive any declarations of interest under the local codes of conduct in respect of any items to be discussed at this meeting. If you have anything to declare, please can you raise your hand? I see no hands raised, so nothing to declare. Item 5, Chairman. Agenda item 5 is to receive the draft statement of licensing policy report, and I now ask Michelle Bishop as licensing manager to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so the report in front of you today is to update you on the public consultation for the draft policy document. The new document will cover the policy for 2026 to 2031. Statutorily, we have to produce a statement of licensing policy every 5 years, and obviously our current one runs out in 2026. You'll see from the report at Appendix B of the report, we've got 2 consultation responses. The responses received from Public Health have been taken into account and updated in the draft policy. We obviously had 2 other responses, which obviously I've not included because there was just a comment to say that they, from 2 parish councils, that they wouldn't be able to look over the draft document as they hadn't got a meeting during the consultation period. Consultation period took place from 15th September until the 26th of October. Going forward, so obviously in terms of the main changes, sorry, my computer's slightly slow. So in terms of the main changes that we're looking at, again, you can see those within the appendix. And I'm just going to go over them briefly now. So at 3.3, that's just an update on dates, obviously just in line with the policy changes. 6.12, I've added a section in there for the agent of change, which basically puts more onus on the builder and of new builds, if you like, to make sure that they've got the correct, if you like, noise requirements within that building if it's been built next to an existing premises. 6.13, The equality, again, just updated that. So obviously, equality and inclusion in licensed premises is obviously very important. So it's obviously making sure that that's included and all license holders are aware. 6.14, there's a few items in there. Obviously, we've labelled it as women's safety and wider vulnerability. Again, that takes into consideration the Ask for Angela, the BAA accreditation that is available out there. But again, it's just making sure that, you know, premises, when they're looking at all their policies, that they do actually train their staff on these areas. Drink spiking was also included in that. So I've broken that down, but the overarching is 6.14. 6.15 is in relation to the Terrorism Act, which obviously was enacted earlier this year, more commonly known as Martin's Law. Whilst obviously it's not actually in use yet, because obviously it's kind of the act is there, but they've been, the SIA, who are the governing body that are going to be implementing it, have been given a sort of 18-month, 2-year lead-in time to implement it. So at the minute there's not lots of guidance around it, there's just the act. But again, I've pulled out the pertinent bits because this policy covers 5 years. I wanted to make sure there was something in there. Obviously, if there's something that sort of is amended or changed once it does come and becomes sort of part of everyday life, then obviously we'll make the relevant amendment to it. And then the final change in there is obviously Appendix A, and that's just an update to a couple of email addresses on the responsible authority list within that. So going forward, obviously there's been no other changes. There's been no other significant legislation updates in terms of the Licensing Act itself. As we know, it's kind of now 20 years old, so hoping that there will be some updates at some point, but it's not arrived yet. And as I say, that kind of concludes the report. What I can just add to that is obviously, if you're all in agreement today to agree the draft policy, that then goes forward to full council for obviously that again, that draft policy to be fully endorsed and adopted by full council, which is the 15th of December. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, two bits. First of all, on the cumulative impact, we're saying about if we were to adopt a policy, it says it's just the word. It says during will be observed 5.A and will be considered by the licensing subcommittee, which sort of suggests that the licensing subcommittee could be the ones to implement a CIZ. But I thought it was only cabinet that could. But maybe I've misunderstood that.
No, so that would again come to this this licensing committee to agree. So, and then it would obviously go to full council for ratification. But yeah, CIZ is, it used to be included in the statement licensing policy, but it's now been brought out as a standalone. We currently don't have a CIZ, purely and utterly because they've amended the time frame. So a CIZ only runs for 3 years, whereas this policy runs for 5 years. So when they made the change, they didn't make both of them. So hence to say why it stands separately. But yeah, apologies for any confusion there. We don't have a CIZ, and it would be licensing committee. So
it's just because the wording it says licensing subcommittee, which suggests it'd be a panel rather than the actual committee. So I think perhaps the sub preface needs to be removed. It's actually the whole committee, isn't it?
Yeah. Apologies. Yeah, I'll make that amendment so that when obviously this report goes forward to full council, I'll make that amendment. So was that a 5.8? Did you say 5?
7.1 special policies.
7 of the actual draft policy, yeah.
Yeah, 7.1 cumulative impact of concentration.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have to say, I personally feel that nothing has changed in Wisbech since we had a CIZ and we didn't have a CIZ. I mean, there is problems with street drinking. There's always been problems with street drinking. And a CIZ made not a jot of difference to that. And removing the CIZ did make not a jot of difference. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a problem, because we can all see there is a problem. And we can have discussions about what the solutions might be, more policing, better drug and alcohol services, all things like that. But I just think these CIZs, while they're perhaps well-meaning, just don't make any difference at all. But I guess that's a debate to have if and when, or because we might not ever think to do it again, so it might be just kind of having a bit of a pointless discussion. But that's why I was just a little bit concerned about the subcommittee, because effectively you could have 3 people making a decision that affects the whole town. And then it was just another, I'm trying to find the point now, it was just on the Ask for Angela. It was on the bit about violence against women and girls. Now, my only slight concern with that is, Ask for Angela, we have had in a, obviously I won't name the premises, but in a hearing it was mentioned that Ask for Angela can apply to anybody, not just women, and a premises relied on that Ask for Angela policy as a defence. So I think we perhaps need to be a bit careful of just saying it applies to women and girls, particularly when the Ask Angela website says as well it applies to everyone. Now, again, I think they did actually set it up as a thing for females, and Angela's a female's name, all the posters have a lady on them, so I think them just sort of now realising that their messaging needs to change is good, and I think that it's going to take some time to kind of get people in that mindset, but if we want to change people's mindset, we probably need to reflect it in this policy, given that it's 5 years in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Councillor Boyd, more than happy to look at that word and just make the relevant tweaks before that goes forward. So yeah, more than happy to do that.
Just a couple of minor typos on 613. Council should have an apostrophe, which is a small one, but then it says Fenland District Council is commitment to equality, so that should either be has a commitment to equality or is committed to equality. Sorry to be picky.
No, not at all. Just remind me of that number again. Sorry. 6.13. Yep.
In councils, and then it says Fenland District Council is, and it should be either has a commitment to equality or is committed to equality.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you for that. I'll get the changes made to that one.
Yes, through the chair. It's 6.4 or 14. Is that okay, Peter? Page 37. It says violence against women and girls strategy. I'm just wondering, there's behaviour which is short of actual physical violence that can be threatening and scary to women and girls, particularly later at night, and can escalate to actual violence as well. And I just wondered if it can be worded to include threatening or aggressive verbal behaviour, verbal abuse. I have known of such instances which have escalated into physical violence, and I wonder if females can be made to feel more kind of comfortable against aggressive. When youths come out of the pub half drunk or fully drunk and they start throwing about kind of innuendos and silly kind of conversations, especially the aggressive, threatening ones. Can we word it to kind of provide a bit more cushion, comfort?
Yeah, I can certainly have a look at it. Obviously, this is an overarching. It doesn't necessarily go into the finite detail of kind of what sort of violence, if you like, or aggression or threatening behaviour. It doesn't talk necessarily about that. It's just kind of, this is an overarching to say, obviously, that that obviously a strategy has been developed to promote, obviously, this happening. So yeah, by all means, I can again I can take that away as an action to have a look at, see if I can come up with anything.
Thank you
So
very much.
yeah,
Thank you.
no worries.
Any more questions from Michelle? No? Right, then can I have a proposer for this report, please? Please raise your hand. Everybody except Councillor Humphrey. Can I have a second for the report, please? Higgins? Right, I now open the item for discussion. Please raise your hand if you have any comments to make. I see you've made them most of them. All agreed? Right. Thank you very much. That is approved then. Thank you. Right. We're going to item agenda number 6 is to receive the draft Hackney carriage and private licence policy for the period 2026 to 2031. And again, I pass over to Andy Fox to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report then is to approve the draft Hackney carriage and private hire licensing policy for the period of 2026 to 2031, and then submit your recommendations to full council. As you know, Fenland Council has a responsibility for licensing Hackney carriage, private hire vehicles, drivers and operators within the district. And we have to review our licensing policy every 5 years, but we can also consider interim reviews should there be any significant areas of arising. The DFT, the Department for Transport, issued new best practice guidance in November 2023. And taking this into account, it was necessary to bring a new edition of the Fenland District Council policy, which is intended to run from 26 to 31. On the 10th of on the 10th of September 2025, a meeting was held with the taxi trade to discuss their thoughts regarding amendments to this policy, and all parties were advised that any formal consultation responses must be submitted in writing and could not be taken verbally. The changes and suggestions that were made by officers were all deemed unnecessary at this time, and that all that was required was basically minor changes and a tidy up and looking at things like grammatical errors and things like that. So which basically do not require a formal consultation. Officers then cross-referenced the DFT best practice guidance, and we found that our policy already meets those standards. And therefore the changes that made are, like I said, either grammatical or rewording for easier clarification. And that is a report before you today.
Right, thank you very much. Can I have a proposal for this report, please? Please raise your hand. Take a peek. Can I have a second report, please? Take your pick. Right, I now open the item for discussion. Please raise your hand if you have any comments to make. Councillor Hoy.
Yeah, thank you. It's just on the point about low emissions vehicles, I was just pleased to see, because obviously I know everyone will be aware, but obviously Andy and Michelle will be aware that we've had sort of discussions about what we were going to do and the way we were going to go. And I know some councils have been quite punitive on vehicles, and obviously that can then affect your trade. So I think it's quite nice that what we're saying is that we'll kind of give you a kind of reduced fee if you decide to go with an electric vehicle. which I think is kind of more carrot rather than stick, which I always think is a better way to approach things. I'm not sure what the subsidised fee is going to be. I haven't heard what it's going to be, and I presume it's going to have to be in the fees and charges. But I think it's a positive step, really, rather than kind of trying to force people to do something and then potentially putting people out of business.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No. So, there are no further speakers. Therefore, the Licence Committee are asked to recommend the full council that the draft Hackney carriage and private hire policy be approved for the period of 2026 to 2031. Please raise your hand if you approve. Totally. Yep. Thank you very much. The final, thank you, that is approved. Thank you. The final item on the agenda is to approve the confidential minutes of the meeting on the 25th of August 25. I propose to remain in open session for this final item. However, if any member wishes to discuss any of the details in the exempt minutes, then we will consider whether to go into exempt session. Can I ask any members who do not agree with this minute to indicate that now? No? All agreed? Thank you very much. I see no objections to the proposal to approve the confidential minutes of the correct record of the meeting, so they are now agreed. And this is the bit you're all going to like. This marks the end of the meeting, and I'll declare the meeting closed. I'm glad you all came.
Just wait till it's.